Today we'll wrap up our review of multiplication by looking at multiplication of decimals. Of the four main operations in arithmetic, multiplying and dividing decimals are probably my least favorite things to do. But it is still an important skill to have, so let's get started. So a quick review first. When we were adding or subtracting numbers with decimal points, a key step was lining up those decimal points. So if we had this first problem and we were adding 2.17 to 1.2, we would line up our decimal points. And we'd probably put a 0 right here. That way we're adding numbers in the ones place together, in the 1/10ths place, the 100ths place. And this becomes 3.3. That's for adding numbers or subtracting numbers with decimal points. Make sure you line up your decimal points. For multiplying numbers, you do not need to do that. The first step when we multiply these numbers with decimal points is we're going to actually ignore those decimal points at the start. And we're going to multiply this as if we are multiplying 217 times 12. So 2 times 7, that's 14. Bring over the 1, that's 2, 3, and then 4. Now moving to the tens place, put a 0 there. So now we have 7, 1, and 2. And then we add this up, and we get 4. That's 10, so 0 goes there, 1 goes up here, 5, 6, and 2. So 217 times 12 is 2,604. But now we're going to take a look at those decimal points. And this number right here has two decimal places, the 1 and the 7. And this number has 1. It has this 2 right here. So combined, there are 3 decimal places. And that's how many spaces we're going to move this over. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and we're going to put that decimal point right there. So the answer is 2.604. So we count the decimal places in the factors to determine how many decimal places are in the answer in the final product. We'll take a look at the second one. Now here we have a negative number. And as our first step over here says, the first thing you want to do is multiply the two numbers without their signs. So we'll go ahead and multiply 6.85 times 0.3. And then when multiplying by decimals, we first ignore the decimal places. So now we're going to go 685 times 3. Well, that's going to be a 15 there. Carry the 1. 24, 25. Bring the 2. That's 18. So 20. So we have 2,055. And then once again, we have 2 decimal spaces here and 1 here for a total of 3. So we'll put that decimal point right there. So we have 2.055. Now we look at our signs. Do the numbers have the same sign? No. One's negative, one's positive. So the answer is negative 2.055. Practice a few more. So now we have 2.3 times negative 27. So let's ignore those signs first, and we'll do 2.3 times 27. 7 times 3 is 21. That's 14 and then 16. We bring down that 0. We're now in that tens place. So now it's 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 2 is 4. Now we're going to add these up. We'll get 1, 12. Carry that 1. That becomes 6. So we have 621. And we only have the 1 decimal space. So that's going to be 62.1. So we have 62.1. Our signs were different, so this will be negative. And then finally, we have negative 156.2 times a negative 0.218. That's kind of a long one here. So we'll go ahead and write this out. 156.2 and then 0.218. So that's 16. Carry the 1. 6 times 8 is 48, so 49. Over the 4. 8 times 5 is 40, so 44. And then 8 times 1 is 8, plus 4 is 12. Now we're in the tens place, so we're going to put a 0 here. Multiplying everything by 1, so 2, 6, 5, 1. Moved over to the hundreds, so now we're 0, 0. That's 4. 12, we carry the 1, that's 10 and 11. Carry the 1, 2, and then 3. And we add all these up. That is 6, 11, carry that 1, 10, 14, 15. Carry the 1. That looks like another 10. 0 goes there. 1. Now we have 4 and 3. And we have 1 decimal place there. Another 3 here, so a total of 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to end up with a decimal point right there. Our answer is 34.0516. Signs were the same. So if the signs are the same, the product is positive. Now let's look at an application. So the temperature in Boise drops by 2.4 degrees Fahrenheit per hour for 6.5 hours. What is the total change in temperature? So in this example, we kind of have a starting place right here. And it's going to drop by negative 2.4 in 1 hour. And then in the second hour, it's going to go down another 2.4. And then in the third hour, it's going to go down another 2.4 degrees. And this will continue, and it will do that 6.5 times. So we're adding 2.4, or negative 2.4, to itself 6.5 times. So that math is negative 2.4 times 6.5. So we'll go ahead and write 2.4 times 6.5. Do this multiplication. So that's 20. Carry that 2. It's 10 and 12. Now we have a 0. 6 times 4 is 24. Another 2. That's 12, 14. Now we add. So it's 0, 6, 5, 1. So we get 1,560 when we multiply 24 times 65. We have 1 decimal place here. Another decimal place here for a total of 2. So that means we're going to have 15.60. And since the temperature was dropping, or since we're multiplying by a negative here, that will be negative. So we're dropping 15.60 degrees Fahrenheit. Our temperature change is negative 15.6 degrees Fahrenheit. A great way to learn is to practice on your own. We will discuss in a bit, but go ahead and pause your screen and do these 3 problems. Okay, so for the first one, we had 0.64 times negative 1.23. Notice that I changed the order when I did this multiplication step. We did have 0.64 times 1.23. I went ahead and switched it and did 1.23 times 0.64. Kind of eliminates 1 row of multiplication. Again, since multiplication is commutative, the order does not matter. So I can change the order to make the multiplication easier. Again, we multiply 123 by 64. We would get 7872. Each of these has 2 decimal places, so the answer will have 4 decimal places. We end up with 0.7872. Since 1 is negative and 1 is positive, the final answer will be negative. Same thing with the second one. I had 5.6 times 13.1. I went ahead and switched this order. So multiply 13.1 times 5.6. Ended up with 73.36. Both of the original factors were negative, so the answer is positive. And then finally, David bought 2.45 pounds of meat, and Sabrina bought 2.5 times as much meat as David. How much meat did Sabrina buy? So Sabrina bought 2.5 times as much meat as David. So to visualize this, what we have is 2.45 plus 2.45. So that's 2 times as much meat as David. And then we would add 2.45 times 1/2. So 1/2 of 2.45. That's the math we're doing. We can simplify down this by going 2.45 times 2.5. And then that is that multiplication there. We get 6.125 pounds of meat. Keep practicing multiplying with decimals, and I'll see you in the next video.